when it comes to electric, we use the European system, all right? We might mess around with feet and pounds and whatever, but when it comes to electric, because nothing runs without it, we use the European system, okay? Because it's simpler. I mean, think about Europe, you know? What language do French people speak? French. What language do Italians speak? Italian. You know? They don't have, like... They keep it simple over there, all right? Took them a long time, but they keep it simple. So that's what we use here, their system. Metric. 1,000 is the number. It's all you need to know. If we did that here, third graders would thank us. So maybe we should consider it. I don't know. Anyway, back to you, Chuck.
So let's see if even the numbers even work out. Do they even make sense for... So the number of homes in the United States is 100. And let's just make this all this font bigger so we can see it more easily. Homes in the United States, you're talking about roughly 145 million homes in the United States. Now, let's just look at this by a different source. So let's just copy this. So let's see. They said that a megawatt is enough to power anywhere between 400 to 900 homes. So let's just say 1 megawatt to, let's just say 500 homes. Let's just be conservative. So let's just take this. Let's just, there's 500 there. And let's just divide it. That divided by that. This is how you noose. All right, this is exactly how you noose. So they're saying that's at the low end. That's how much power it takes to power 500 homes. 1 megawatt to power 500 homes. So you would need roughly 290,000 megawatts to power 500 homes. So how many gigawatts would you need? Well, there are 1,000 megawatts in a gigawatt. So you would need, yeah, so it's right. So 1,000 megawatts, gigawatt, you would have 1,000 here.
It's hard to keep up with the news these days, but not anymore. Introducing you to paulineslist.org. That's paulineslist.org, your digital newsstand. Just like a newsstand, at paulineslist.org, you can see all of your publications in one place. And just like the newsstand, you can flip through all of the headlines of all of today's articles in an easy-to-manage format. On top of that, you can save the articles you want to read for later. And on top of that, we do not use artificial intelligence to tell you what you want. We let you decide for yourself. Right now, we have some of the top financial publications out, but we're adding new publications all the time. So if you're serious about knowing, if you're serious about being a citizen, if being ignorant is your pet peeve, check out paulineslist.org. That's paulineslist.org.
Therefore, you would need about 290, you would need 290 gigawatts. And here it said 200. That's what you would need, because it said 1 gigawatt powers 750,000 homes. And it says there are 145 million homes in the United States, so you say you need 200 gigawatts. So what they're saying basically is that these states, the southern, or right now, I think it was, what'd they say? That they created solar and wind grew to more than 238 gigawatts. So how much power does the entire United States need? You need 4,108 billion kilowatts. Kilowatt hours. Billion kilowatt hours. All right, so let's just see. So let's just see how many gigawatt hours you need. Total U.S. consumption. $4,108 billion. So 4,108 billion. So it's going to be 9 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's it. That's what you need. All right, to power everything, and that's in kilowatt hours. But nobody really measures anything in kilowatt hours. People measure things by gigawatts. And so we have to go from kilowatts, conversion from kilowatt hours to gigawatts. So if you want to go from kilowatt hours, first you want to go from kilowatt hours to megawatts, and what is that? 1,000 kilowatts in 1 megawatt. So you want to divide by 1,000. Let's just do it step by step. I know there are going to be people who are like, we could go faster. And I was a math major. I know we could go faster. Everybody can go faster. But as one of my bosses told me, he said, baby steps. So it assures that you don't make mistakes, or it tries to assure that you don't make mistakes. So that's how many total U.S. consumption. So this is in megawatt hours. So this is in terms of like boilers and refrigerators, and this is in terms of like neighborhoods, right? So this is in terms of neighborhoods, right? So that's that. So let's just throw some commas, put some commas in the game. There we go. So now we're at 400. That's a manageable number. If you talk about megawatts, you're talking about, what is that? That's hundreds, thousands, millions. 4.1 billion megawatts. So let's go from conversion from megawatts to gigawatt hours. Let's do that. In terms of gigawatt hours. So you're going from, these are about neighborhoods, this is in neighborhood scale, and this is at power plant scale. So this is 1,000 more, all right? And we're gonna go total in gigawatt hours, because that's what this article is talking about. This article only talks in gigawatts, 238 gigawatts, 13 gigawatts, 683,000 gigawatt hours, da, da, da. So we need to know what we're actually talking about. Gigawatt hours is like, the amount of power any of these things need in a particular day, right? So let's talk about, over the course of you need a gigawatt. If you need a gigawatt, you need it consistently. You need it every hour. So let's keep going here. So divided by. So this is important. Oh God, so this is also looks disheartening, right? So this is what you need to power the United States now. You need 4.1 million gigawatts, it looks like, per year. That's what it looks like, 4.1 million gigawatts per year. And if you put it in terms, we're at 238. So we have enough to power maybe our houses, but we don't have enough to power street lights and hospitals and factories and airports and airplanes and electric cars and trains and subway systems and water dams and sewage processing systems and all the other things that we need. We have enough to power just our houses if there was nothing else but our houses. So let's read this article. Last year, the U.S. generated 683,000 gigawatt hours. So gigawatt hours. So what is that? What is the relationship between gigawatts and gigawatt hours? Sure. Let's look it up, because there's no reason why we should know. Well, this is all in gigawatt hours. In 2021, about 4,108 billion kilowatt hours. So they're talking about gigawatt hours. So how many gigawatt hours are here? There are 4.1 million, and it says last year gigawatt hours in renewables. What was it? According to this article, 683,000. Okay, so we're not as bad as I thought. 683,000. We're not good. We're not as bad as I thought. 683,000. But what does that leave us? We have to generate, in order to go fully renewable, we would have to generate 3.4 million more. So what percentage are we at? 6, 12? What percentage is this? Equals this over the total times 100. 16%. So we're about 1/5 of the way there. 16%, about 1/6 of the way there. Okay, all right, but we're getting there. We're 16% of the way there, but we're getting there. Okay, so this isn't that bad. Wasn't that useful? Now don't you understand what's going on? I had no idea what was going on. Don't you understand now? And if we don't understand, let's just do a quick recap. While California and the United States were the largest producers of solar power, it was Texas that led both in solar and wind, okay? Texas saw the largest increase in megawatts of solar and wind. Now we're talking about gigawatts. See how that just happened? Megawatts. But we're talking about gigawatts because who gives a damn about megawatts? Megawatts are too small to actually measure it. They're too small. You're talking about neighborhoods. What we really need to be, gigawatts you're talking about at power plant scale. So we really have to be talking about a power plant scale, not at neighborhood scale. You know, God knows how many neighborhoods there are in America. So we really need to be talking, so why don't we convert these, now that we know how, to gigawatts? So Texas saw the largest increase of megawatts of solar power from 2021 to 2022, adding more than 1,660 megawatts. How many megawatt hours is that? I don't know. Let's just see. I don't know. The formula used to calculate megawatts, megawatt hours is megawatt hours equals megawatts times the multiplied by the number of hours. To convert megawatt hours to megawatts, you're going to need to divide megawatts divided by the number of hours. So, what is the standard number of hours? Let's see. This is, I don't know what is the standard number of hours? Determine the number of megawatt hours. Determine the number of hours. To convert megawatt hours to megawatts, the number of hours must be known. So what number of hours are we talking about? Are we talking about the number of hours in a year? I gather that's what we must be talking about, the number of hours in a year. So let's just say, because we're talking about year over year, so let's say they added 1660. So let's just say Texas. What did they add? Texas. What did they add? What number is this? Megawatts. So how many hours are in a year? So it's 24. And what are we? Megawatts solar. Okay. Texas solar megawatt growth. Let's do that. All right. And this is how you knew. Sometimes, you know, they throw all these terms at you. You don't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. So, like, let's figure it out, because sometimes you got to get some stuff out, and this is Google, and you could just get some stuff out. So why don't we just say let's just say the number, because they're talking about year over year. So let's say they're talking about, let's just talk about number of hours in a year. Okay, so 1660 times, or 24 hours in a year. Well, let's just see the number of hours in a year. 24 hours in a day times 365 days in a year. Okay, now let's say megawatt. How many did Texas do this year? 1660, they said, right? So that means this times this, right? So let's just put all of this in 16.5, 18.5. So that is how many megawatts that they made in a year. Numeric, okay? So Texas created 14 million megawatt hours. Remember, megawatt hours, you're talking about neighborhoods. We don't care about neighborhoods. What we care about is gigawatts. So how many gigawatts? Gigawatt hours is that. So megawatts to gigawatts, we should be dividing by 1,000. let's see if my math is right. Does that make any sense? $14,000 megawatt hours or gigawatt hours. That does feel right, right? So if you look at it in a way that makes sense, what you're talking about is 14,000 gigawatt hours. Is that even, does that make sense? Last year, yeah, that makes sense. So last year, in total, the country created 683,000 gigawatt hours. And last year, Texas had the largest increase and made 14,000 gigawatt hours. So that makes sense. So what percentage did Texas, the country as a whole made? The country as a whole made, Texas made 14.5 thousand gigawatt hours. In the country, so Texas went up by 2%. That's what happened there. Texas went, which is nothing to scoff at. But it's the most, so it can't be anything to scoff at because it is the most. But that's what's going on here. So, okay. So the largest increase in megawatt hours of solar capacity from 2001 to 2022, adding more than 60. So they added 14,000 gigawatt hours, and we need 4 point some odd million. The Lone Star State had the largest capacity of wind with around 37,635 megawatts, which really is 3,736 gigawatts. Everything should be converted to gigawatt hours because that's what we need. We need it. This is the magical number, 4.1 million gigawatt hours. So everything needs to be converted to gigawatt hours. And so what they're saying is, this article is actually very interesting. Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas, Illinois, California follow Texas in the list of the top 10 states with the most wind power capacity. Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas, Illinois, California. So none of the other blue states, not New York, not Massachusetts, no one followed Texas in a list of the top 10 states with the most wind power capacity. All red states, basically. Iowa's swingy, but it's red. Oklahoma, Kansas, those are all red. Illinois, it's, blue Chicago, but the rest of the state, but Chicago's a blue, Illinois is a blue state. California is a blue state, followed Texas. All right? California, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Virginia, New Jersey, and Massachusetts rank as the top 10 states with the most solar capacity. So California is blue, Texas is red, Florida is red, North Carolina is red, it's purple, but it's red right now. It's swingy, but it's very swingy. Arizona is red, blue, Nevada's blue, Georgia is blue now, and Virginia and New Jersey. So they're doing well, but the authors, let's see what the authors conclude. The authors' report concluded that the country's ability to produce electricity from sun, light, and wind can grow fast enough to support Biden's administration's goal of net carbon emission targets by 2050. It notes that the electricity capacity is poised for rapid expansion in the wake of the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. So Biden's bill worked. But that's important to know. So now anytime that you actually need to know what's going on, this is how you know. And this is the magical number. But this is exactly how you news. Sometimes you have to Google some things, it's some simple division, and you got to figure it out. But that's how it's done. That is exactly how it's done. Peace. Hey, if you like this video, please smash that like button and hit subscribe. We would love to see you again. So take it easy. Peace.